Hey there, Waymaker family. This is Jacob Bisecker, president and founder here at Waymaker Off-Road Wheelchairs. I just wanted to jump on here real quick. I like to stay behind the lens on the other side of the camera, but sometimes that's just not possible. And right now we've got a neat announcement that I wanted to just share a little bit with y'all, as well as give you kind of a 2025 year-end recap so you can see how things have gone, how things are going, kind of a true look as to what we're seeing and what we're expecting, and just give you some feedback. So 2025, the big question we always get is how many chairs do you have now? So we've got 31 track chairs that we use. We've got about 12 to 1,500 people that use them a year. And so as you can imagine, that keeps us pretty busy with spending time on the road. Most of those people are using those chairs about a week at a time. And so you can imagine what the usage and wear and tear and, kind of number of days a year each of those chairs gets used is. So it's pretty big commitment and impact. Many of those chairs now are on their second, third season here in South Carolina, and so the salt, sand, and everything else takes its toll, and a lot of those are needing some pretty good attention and a couple. We usually do 5 or 6 rebuilds a year. We'll probably do a few more than that this year to kind of stay on top of things. But that's kind of what we got going on as far as the chair side of things goes. We had a good partnership with Charleston County. Got a couple more of their county parks involved. We're hoping to get a couple more state parks involved this next year. We had one that was supposed to go to Table Rock, I think, State Park in the upstate of South Carolina. And then with the hurricane damage and stuff they had from that hurricane about a year and a half ago, they had us hold off on that chair just until they can get things cleaned up. But there's exciting things coming. We're going to try to get some more chairs to the other side of the state. But that's kind of how things have been growing so far. And so everything's growing at a really fast pace. But then it's also gotten to a point where we basically had a conversation about this time at the end of the year last year between me and Dad. For those that don't know, we're a family kind of run and operated business just kind of naturally with how things happen. We came to be because of my spinal cord injury Christmas Eve of 2020 when I was in a hunting accident with my brother that resulted in a T11 L2 spinal cord injury. And then through that process, just naturally the family, we've had a close family, we always have had, and so I've got 4 other siblings, and they all help in some capacity or another. My parents also do a good bit of, showing up when we have events. Dad does all the deliveries for us. A lot of times, Mom's tagging along with them. So, if you see the logoed van driving down 95 or heading to the beach, you can about guarantee that's Dad, and sometimes Mom's with him too. But like I said, everything's been pretty well family run. Me and Dad had a discussion. Basically together that just came to the conclusion at the end of last year that we were at capacity for what me and him could handle. Just there's not enough hours in a day. We have big plans. We would love to be able to, venture out and expand into places like the Outer Banks. We get requests from that, a good bit. And that's always been really one of our a vacation spot for me ever since I was a kid. So it kind of holds a special place in my heart. But the Outer Banks, maybe expand up to Virginia. We've got family that has ties in Indiana. There's all kinds of different places and routes we could go. But right now it's just the barrier and obstacle is just the time and the hands, really and the finances to do so. So the first several years of our business, the first 3, we spent to where every dollar, dime, nickel, penny, quarter, everything was going straight towards buying equipment, buying track chairs. Getting as many chairs as possible as quickly as possible so we could try to stay ahead on the curve. Now we knew that people were going to find us quicker than we could add chairs, and so we knew that demand and that balance was going to be offset to where we were going to always have people on a wait list. And that's kind of how it's been. Most summers we have a pretty decent wait list, especially all the peak and desirable times of the year around holidays and 4th of July, Labor Day, all those kind of things. But it's worked out so far. It's been really cool. We've had a lot of traffic. We've had a lot of people helping. We've got a lot of different organizations we've partnered with. We've partnered with over a dozen, I think, last year. I'd have to count them all up, but it's right in that ballpark. We've done several hunts with different groups year after year again. We did one this past month last week was with Sawtooth Farm Hunt. We've been with them, I think that was our 3rd year, maybe 4th. But anyway, we were with them, and I had some time in a deer stand out there as well, which is always great. Was able to actually have a little bit of success. This is the first time that I don't know how many times we've been with different North Carolina groups that I've been able to actually have some success in the field, so that was pretty neat. But I had just a lot of time to sit in a deer stand by myself. Had already kind of been running numbers for the business as to what kind of cost I was looking at for this coming up off season. So with 31 chairs, that's just a ton more maintenance. Like I said, and nothing on the chairs are cheap. You know, pretty much any component that might go bad is at least a $500 bill just for the part itself. And so got to adding things up and what I thought each chair might need to get it back to operating at, you know, full capacity and not having any squeaks and limps and, you know, weird things going on. And so I was looking at what was in the bank account versus what we had coming in with, you know, some monthly donors. We have a pretty good monthly core, but like I said, we've started just to the volume and number of chairs we have. That monthly core, we've got to figure out how to focus on building monthly donor base that's a little bit bigger than what it is now. What we've had is done pretty well at keeping, you know, fuel in the vehicles and all the kind of important have-tos paid for. But as far as growing and being able to cover, you know, the extra, especially maintenance and stuff side of things now, we've got to figure out how to kind of add on to that group a little bit. From the grant side of things, we had a pretty good year last year. We hit a lot of good grants, but then a lot of those had a stipulation where you couldn't apply for the same grant again. You had to wait a year before you could apply again. So we had a rougher year this year finding grants. We had a lot that we applied for. With what we do is just being kind of so unique, I guess. We don't fit the mold for exactly what everybody's looking for, so a lot of times we have to do a lot of trying to sell ourselves as to why we should qualify or why these different groups should support us. But all that to say, I was looking at the bank account and basically knew that I didn't have what I needed to have to be able to get all of my chairs back up and functioning again the way that I wanted them to be. So I was starting to kind of really already come up with a plan. It's like, okay, who was going to get left out this go around, chair-wise, as to what might last long enough to get us through until maybe we could come into some more money after the first of the year. And so we kind of kept looking at that route and thinking through those things. But in the deer stand, I started praying, had some time. For those that don't know, we're a faith-based organization. That's kind of paramount. Has been since the day that God kept me alive in the woods. And really before that, our family's always been, you know, had a good, strong Christians just from the grandparents down and always been raised that way. It's always been something that we've clung to personally and in our lives. So it's definitely important to us. And so I've just had some time to pray in the deer stand. And my prayer has often been, since we've started this organization, is, you know, God, you own the cattle on 1,000 hills. It would be really nice right now if you wouldn't mind taking one to the auction house for us. And so that was the prayer that I prayed. And I know it sounds cheesy and silly and everything else, but, you know, it's just how it was. That's what I prayed. And so I got home and I was sitting around Monday or Tuesday, and I got a call from a number that looked like a telemarketer. It wasn't a number I recognized, so I almost didn't answer it. Something told me to go ahead and answer it, so I answered it. And it was Becky with, and this is the group HM and Pearl Kyle Foundation. And she was letting me know that they had a check for us for $20,000, and it was a check that the only stipulation was really that we needed to be able to cash it before the end of the year. So I told you, you know, we can definitely help with that. So if you just drop it in the mail, I will take care of that as soon as possible. So it showed up today. And so it's been the exact amount. Basically, I was kind of estimating between $20,000 to $25,000 of what it was going to take to be able to get all these chairs back online and to still kind of stay at our bubble for keeping a reserve on hand that we could be able to have for emergencies and stuff like that. And so it's been just one of those God things again, you know, be able to spend time talking to him about it. You know, told him basically, you know, we need your help. We've done all we can do. We've put in the work to apply for all these different things, everything else, and we just needed him to help meet us in the middle. And so he did that, and he came through in exactly the way that we hoped and prayed and expected that he would. And so just as he continues to supply everything that we need, we're going to continue to do what he's wanting us to do and continue with everything with our organization. So we know that we've got a good, strong start now and safe start to 2026, and we look forward to seeing what can happen. But if any of you want to jump in as monthly sponsors, we can definitely use it. If you got business sponsorships, we'd like to try to grow that bubble as well for local businesses, especially here in Hartsville. But not going to turn away any business that sees what we do, sees the benefit that it can have to somebody's, just personal, mental, and spiritual well-being, to be able just to get out in God's creation and enjoy His beauty that He's created for us. And so I try to keep it short. It's already 11 minutes, so I'm just going to try to cut it off here. But I really appreciate everybody. I appreciate your thoughts and prayers, and financial donations, sharing our Facebook posts and everything else. All the interactions that you have with us on social media makes us money. It's not a lot, but it does it helps. Every little bit helps. So everything you can do, anything you can do, we appreciate it so much, and I can't thank y'all enough. And so we look forward to seeing what 2026 has in store. But I appreciate y'all. Thank you. God bless.